All right. Well, we got a dual top five for you in honor of the Summer Olympics. We're going to stay with the Summer Olympics and we're going to do the HSC Podcast top five Summer Olympics moments of all time. And this kind of puts a lot more on the table. I feel like when we do the top five American athletes, Olympians, there was some other people on the list. There was plenty of honorable mentions, but probably why we're very similar. But we'll see how this changes. And I will tell you, this list was a lot bigger than the other list. This one was really hard to narrow down for me.
That's funny because this list was mostly all in my head because it was moments. I
Yeah,
knew
you're just remembering
I
stuff.
remembered this.
Yeah, I don't know. This list, I mean, a lot of them I remember, but there are definitely a lot that when you start going back and looking at it, it's stuff that you remember from maybe you watched it when they like played it back in the Olympics,
Right.
showed you like an old video or and just things like that. Um, so the list was big, but I got it narrowed down pretty well. Um, all right, well let's talk about top five Olympic moments. I guess we should have been could have been a little more specific, but I'll start here. This is the only one I wasn't super specific with, which is my number five, because it's not just a moment in the Olympics, it was the formation of the dream team. It's the first time they put together all the NBA players, but the greatness they put together with that team, Bird and Magic and Jordan, all the other players. For me, that was an iconic moment. And it was really, really fun to watch. It was great. It was exciting, but it was just like for the first time, you felt like I'm going to show you what America can do in basketball. And so I got the formation of the dream team at number five.
I have, and this is kind of a weird one, but it's when Michael Phelps breaks the most gold medals in the Olympic history, the 8 golds. That moment is my
Yeah.
number. Just breaking a record. I mean, huge
Well,
record.
and along an old record, right? Because Spitz
Yeah.
had beat it in 72 and Phelps beat it, 20, 30 years later, 36 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a pretty iconic one in all of, and I think if you asked a lot of people in the Olympics or Olympians and stuff, I think that's a big one. All right, what do you got at four?
Four is kind of, yeah, well, it's the dream team. I mean, because one for one, 92, the Tournament of Champions was in Portland, Oregon, where we are,
Right.
or our area. They had the NBA draft here and that. So it was cool because I got to go to the NBA draft and then I got to see a game against, I can't even remember who it was because it was over within like 2 minutes.
Right.
So that was super cool for me as a moment to see such an amazing group of talent. And it was kind of the thing where it was like, we're like, okay, you've been playing with our college players. We're going to show you our pros now.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the you're kind of like it's iconic because it's the first time, right? A lot of times when it's that first time something happens, those moments mean a lot.
Well, crazy thing about this, the WNBA is pausing their season so they could have their players go over.
Right. Yeah, so that I mean that obviously that's why I had it five. That's a good one. So for me, number four is when Usain Bolt breaks the record. Not, I mean, he broke two records, but the 100 obviously is the most iconic. But to break two records in the same Olympics back to back, that's pretty crazy. But just the way he won the 100, and it's the 2008, Olympics. And like, I mean, not only does he win, he could have had probably ran a better, faster time, except, he knew he was ahead by so far. Um, and the 100's always been just an event I've loved. And so to watch him just dominate the 100 and break that record, and probably looks like a record that's going to stand for a long time. It's pretty amazing. So that's a big one for me at number 4. So number 3 is not one I experienced personally, but I've seen a million times, and I think, I mean, it could easily be number 1, but it's Nadia Comaneci, Perfect 10. It's just something that never happened, and the dynamic between her and her coach, and I've seen a replay of it, probably 1,000 times. So I really, that's an iconic moment for me. And as a kid growing up who watched the Olympics all the time, and my dad recorded them all the time, can't tell me how many times I've seen that replay and the finish. And so I gotta put that up there at number 3.
That's kind of funny because my number 3 is another women's gymnast that had a perfect 10, but mine is in 1984, Mary Lou Retton,
Yeah,
because she was the first American ever to win the gold all around
right.
men's
Men
gymnastics.
or women.
Yeah.
She was on my list. It was who am I gonna eliminate? Mary Lou
I'm
Retton
just
or not?
going, I'm telling you
Nobody.
right now, it's all USA here.
Yeah, I mean that was, it's funny because I had to decide between those two for that spot. Um, because that, I mean, that's always been amazing. That's been so iconic our whole lives. Um, because
And
again, I started watching Olympics very young, and so even though I was young when that happened, it still was replayed every Olympics. You just keep seeing it over and over again every time it comes up.
and for her, she had two perfect tens to
Yeah.
win. She barely won. That's how crazy that was.
But it is one of those moments where it's like it's very unique, right? It's a first. It's a first time that an American wins gold for men or women, and in gymnastics. So
Right. And that's the crazy thing thinking about that. Like back then, now we've had um 5 straight women's all around winners.
right, right. Yeah, I mean that changed a lot for sure. All right, what do you got at 2?
And 2, I'm going back to gymnastics again in
Are you gonna do Carrie Strug?
1996. Yes, Gary Strug. Come on. That's one of the most iconic
Yeah.
moments in Olympic history.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's hard to argue because there's so much drama in it too. It's like it's storybook. And then you get the landing, and then the hopping around on one leg, like just the whole thing. It's very, it's hard not to love that moment,
And it's kind of crazy. So,
because that's how they won the overall.
yeah. And the coach, Bella Caroli, the coach, also is a coach of Nadia Comaneci
Right.
and Lou Retton.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely one of the most iconic coaches ever. But it's just it is one of those moments that will stick out in your mind forever. Well, number two, you already mentioned it. I have a little higher than you do because I just remember that Olympics when Michael Phelps won the eight golds. And it was like, it's not even just the eighth gold, but it was everything leading up to it. It was just the domination, and you were just watching something happen that you couldn't believe was happening because we weren't around in 1972. Like you heard of it, you heard of somebody winning seven times, but to watch it happen and the domination and then he finally beats it. And then on top of that, like you could easily put, him breaking the overall or gold record and then now having I mean, but that moment in time, like you knew was something special. So for me, I have a little higher than you did, but I think that's one of the greatest moments to see someone break that record. All right. So you already gave your two, right?
Yep.
All right, number one.
How much you want to bet will probably be the same.
No, I mean maybe. Well, mine's something that it- I've I didn't experience, but I've been a fan of, and I've looked at my whole life, and that era in history is big for me, and that's Jesse Owens. So we may be the same here, but I mean, when you look at that 1936 Olympics and you think about what he did, where he did it, and he didn't just go and win. Like he won convincingly and broke records and took home four medals and to do it on in that era, in that time, in that place, like I just don't know that it gets much bigger than that in the scheme of the Olympics compared to the history of the world. So I have to go with Jesse Owens, 1936 Olympics.
Told you, Steve. Told you. Yes, and I've got Jesse Owens, 1936 Olympics. Because what better example of like America than for a guy to go African American go into Berlin, which hates him, hates his color, hates and everything about him. He goes in basically middle fingers
The whole
Hitler.
Third Reich.
Yeah, it's like screw you. I'm gonna win four and show you your dominant race what you can
Right,
do. And that to me was like it's the epitome of like the Olympic moment. It's like, no, I'll show you what's up.
right. Yeah, and it's something that also, withstands the test of time, as far as iconic moments. So it was hard not to do that. There was some really, really tough ones, I'll tell you. Couple honorable mentions here. All right, first let's give our top five. So let's break it down. So HSC Podcast top five most memorable Summer Olympic moments. Number five, I got formation of the Dream Team, 1992 Olympics. Four, Usain Bolt breaking the 100 and the 200, but the 100 at 2008 Olympics. Nadia Comaneci's perfect 10 in 1976. Michael Phelps, 2008, breaking the gold medal record with eight gold medals. And Jesse Owens, 1936, winning four gold medals, breaking three records.
And my top five, I've got Michael Phelps at five for the eight golds in 2008. Number four, the Dream Team in 1992. Number three, Mary Lou Retton's perfect 10 and 82, perfect 10s in 84, winning the all around for the women for the first time in American history. Number two, I've got the Carrie Strug hurting her leg in 96 and sticking the landing on the vault to win the all around for the women, for the women's all around for the team. And number one, Jesse Owens, 1936, putting the middle finger up on Hitler and showing him what's up.
Yeah, so good top fives there on that one. But that list for me was very long. So I gotta admit though, a hard one for me to tug off the list was Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, because it was like the beginning of him, right? Going to the Olympics, winning gold, then going pro, then winning the heavyweight. Like it was his coming out party. He was still Cassius Clay at that time, but that one is iconic because I'm a huge Muhammad Ali fan. So that was a big one. And Kerry Strug was another one that was those two were within the top five that I think they were all the same, and I just had to take two off, like because I can only have five.
And then for me, I had two, and I left them off because they're super downers. The Munich massacre, the terrorist attack
Oh
on
yeah.
the Palestinians, and then the night wasn't the 96 bomb threat, the bombing.
Was that in like Atlanta?
Yes,
Yeah.
at the Centennial Park bombing, where
Right.
he built the terrorist pipe bomb.
Yeah, I didn't go that deep into because those aren't. I try to block those out.
Right. Well, that's why
uh,
I left them off the list because I
yeah.
wanted to go happy.
Right. Right. I wanted to be a little more positive. Well, because then there's things like Greg Louganis when he hurt his head, and
Kate one brought up, even though because it was a huge news thing, but it was kind of depressing, was the whole Simone Biles mental health
right,
issue.
mental health issues, and then the guy who like hurt himself and his dad came out,
Yes.
Derek Redmond or something like that.
Yeah.
Was that his name? I can't
Great
remember his name.
Britain.
That was crazy. And then the other one, it wasn't, I guess it was a big deal because they still like won, but the most iconic Olympic picture that the guys holding up their hands in the honor of,
Black Power.
yeah, Black Power. Like that's like how many times you seen that picture in your life?
Right. Exactly.
So that's pretty iconic too. So that means there was a lot that was
Well,
on my
the
list.
was Ben Johnson breaking the record, then finding out he was on steroids.
Right, Ben Johnson. Well, I mean, just Michael Johnson and what he did in the Olympics. I mean, there's a lot of
Or the what was it? Dan O'Brien and who was the other? Remember the Dan
oh yeah, yeah, Dan and Dave. Dave
and they did like the
yeah,
whole like commercials, and then
yep,
one of them didn't even make it.
right. Dan and Dave. So I mean, there was so many of them. This was a tough one. And there's a lot of other ones like doing some research that I didn't even know about, which were pretty interesting too. So if you're interested in Olympic trivia or history, like you should go back and just research for anybody listening, check out old Olympic moments, and there's some pretty crazy stuff out there.
Well, you know what I love about the Olympics is I was on my Peacock thing. You can pick what things you want to have recorded, right? And it was almost everything.
Yeah.
But you know what I really don't care about too much is basketball.
Yeah. It's
I
just
would,
not that exciting.
yeah, I'd rather watch the rhythmic gymnastics or like the judo, taekwondo, the
I
like
was su-
beach volleyball.
I was surprised when I was looking up some of the American athletes. They had a lot of people like Serena Williams and Michael Jordan and
Yeah,
like
because Jordan won three golds, right?
yeah, it was just in general though, it's like those aren't people that I look at as like great Olympians. Like they're great at their sport, and maybe that makes them a great Olympian too. But for me, Olympics is always about track and field and swimming and diving and uh, any of the
Gymnastics.
the gymnastics events and the shooting events and like all of those things that kind of make up the Olympics.
Well, that was I was gonna put on my list of top five, but it was just because they were so dominant, but it wasn't like they won tons of golds because it was just one event. But it was it Misty May Trainer and
Oh yeah, and yeah,
Harry
the beach
Walsh.
volleyball, yeah, Kerry Walsh, dude.
They were
I
so dominant.
Dude, I've probably watched them in the Olympics more than anything else, and there's probably other reasons too, but still, because
Yeah,
nothing wrong with watching women's beach volleyball. But it also just like they were very dominant, and I love volleyball, beach volleyball, like men, women's equally.
right.
Um, it's just a fun sport for me. Like I played it, I like to go down the beach and play it, but to watch them play it, it was pretty amazing. So yeah, that's a big one too. But they definitely, but it's hard to put them on the list with some of the other top fives we had.
Because they only had that one
Yeah,
sport and that
right.
one gold.
You can only win so much when that's
Yes.
the only event you're playing, and how many Olympics are you going to play in and win, So, can't wait for the Olympics. Love it all the time. Um, yeah, I mean, you can watch whatever, record whatever you want on Peacock, but my dad's got every VHS of every Olympic event since, 1970 if you want to go watch it.
I would, dude. That'd be awesome. I would. That would be nice to have. Like, I guess you probably could just look it up on YouTube or something, but I was like, I would love to
Yeah.
watch like Carl Lewis again. And
Dude, he was running 3 or 4 VCRs at a time in the house, recording all the different channels that are playing all the Olympics. One year he went on vacation during the Olympics, and he made me go over there and change tapes because the tapes, they're 6-hour tapes, dude.
right.
And they run out. And he's like, well, you got to get over there when the tapes run out to switch them over. And I'm like, you really need every minute of every hour of every Olympic coverage, all the Olympic coverage. And since since 1970, I guess.
It's well, that's cool though, because but think about then too, like the 70s and stuff. Like now you get to watch everything
Right.
and you can record. Like you don't have to worry about doing the VCR to record something at 2 in the morning.
Yeah. Or you just watch it again, on YouTube or whatever,
Right.
or
Mhm.
replays and things like that. Yeah, no, you didn't have that. And so yeah, it's all on VHS, summer and winter.
Nice.
So you got everything you want to see. Oh man, it's funny. I I don't know. Someday I'll probably have to like categorize it for him, or he'll pass away at some point, and we'll go and see what we actually have for the
Well,
Olympics.
you got to figure out a way to get it on like DVD or something, and then burn it to like the computer or something, so you
Yeah,
can
put it
have.
on a hard drive.
Yeah,
You could probably put all of those tapes on like one hard drive. That's good. All right. Well, Olympics coming up. We got football starting in unbelievably 9 days, 8 days.
the Bears.
Yeah. So this is we're getting through, and I know you're a baseball guy, so it hasn't been hard for you, but for me, getting through this summer period is a little tough, but we're getting there. So
Yeah, the,
breaking here at season 5 HSC Podcast. For thanks for listening, especially all the new Spotify listeners. Appreciate the listens. For you limited amount of YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like, share it. We could use some more YouTube listeners, but appreciate everybody listening, and we'll see you next time.